Thank you very much for joining us to our very first story today. And the parties in the criminal case against businessman Alfred Agbeshi Woyome have filed written submissions at the Court of Appeal for and against his acquittal. Now, while the state is calling on the court to quash a high court judgment which freed Woyome from any wrongdoing in the 51.2 million Ghana cedi scandal, Counsel for Woyome is praying the court to dismiss the state's appeal. A 72-page submission filed by the prosecution is asking the Court of Appeal to curtail Woyome's freedom and imprison him accordingly on the grounds that the trial judge erred in law in acquitting and discharging the businessman of defrauding by false pretenses and causing financial loss to the state. But the defense team is of the view that the state failed to concretely justify why the March 12, 2015 High Court judgment should be overturned. Now, the court's registry is yet to fix a date for the delivery of judgment on the appeal. My colleague Jahunyan has more on the 72-page address, and she joins me in the studio now with much more on that particular one. So, Jah, good morning. Thanks for joining us, as usual.
Morning.
So, once you come in, I know you have a lot on your plate. Now, so we are hearing two submissions in this situation. First from Alfred Agbeshi Woyome's lawyers, and the other from the state. Let's start off with Alfred Agbeshi Woyome's lawyers. Now, what are they seeking?
Well, they are basically saying that the court should disregard the state's appeal, that the ruling that was given by Justice Ajit Nassam should be maintained. And they are arguing that the fact that Woyome was called upon to open his defense, that is when the case first went to trial, Woyome was asked to open his defense, and then subsequently it was ruled that the state hadn't established a prima facie case against Woyome. And he's saying that that's Mr. Ken Stephen Anku, lawyer for Alfred Agbeshi Woyome, that the fact that Woyome was called upon to open his defense did not mean that the state has proved his guilt to warrant his conviction. It also saying that the trial court's position that Mrs. Maud Idris and other witnesses should have been called because they played roles leading up to the payment of the money of Woyome is not, should be maintained. Basically, it's sort of in response to the state's call that the previous judgment given by Justice Ajit Nassam should be overruled. Woyome lawyers are saying that everything that should have been done was done rightly, and therefore the case should be left as it is. He's saying that the prosecution cannot now be here to say that the decision of the learned judge on the point was wrong in law, because the prosecution failed to call material witnesses, and this failure in the circumstances must inure to the benefit of Alfred Woyome. So he's saying that in the first place, the prosecution didn't do their job well, and therefore they have no right whatsoever to come back now and blame it on the judge. If they didn't do their job, it's not the fault of the judge that their job wasn't done well. Okay,
and now what exactly is the state seeking now? Now, they want Alfred Woyome imprisoned?
Yes, they want him, as they put it, they want his freedoms curtailed, and they want him imprisoned because they are saying the state did not fail to prove his court. They are either blaming it on the judge, as in the failure for this trial to go the way they wanted it to, for the failure to get a judgment in their favor. They are blaming it on the judge, which according to the state, has also been, we all know this, has also been named in Anas's judicial scandal.
Exactly.
So they are using the judicial scandal to sort of cast smears on the judgment of Justice John Ajit Nassam, saying that he's proven to be somewhat of a shady character. Therefore, Anas's expose reveals the fact that he didn't actually make an independent and objective judgment. They go on to talk about the fact that the fact of key witnesses, which is a key issue in this trial, in the former trial, in this appeal. The fact that witnesses like Betty Maud Idris, Ebon Barton Odro were not called to the stand because the prosecution at that time said it wasn't necessary because they had already called people from their departments to come and answer. And according to the state, this time around, they are saying that the trial judge should have been, the personalities held, that is referring to the personalities I mentioned earlier, should have been called by the prosecution were immaterial. That's what the trial judge said. Were immaterial to the case because officers from their various departments had been testified. All these personalities referred to by the judge had nothing useful to add. It goes on to say that the prosecution jabbed Mr. Ajit Nassam for failing to analyze the evidence led by the prosecution witnesses and rather resorting to bias, conclusion and generalization without any legal basis. So they're saying even the witnesses that they presented, Justice Ajit Nassam sort of ridiculed them in court, and so they didn't give any credence to their cross-examination, and that affected the trial, and also at the end of the day its dismissal as well.
So Joe, I'll let you hold on for now. I'm very interested in the whereabouts of Justice John Ajit Nassam. I don't know whether you have any ideas, but I'll be coming to you shortly for that. But joining me over the telephone lines now is a private legal practitioner, lawyer Maurice Zampa, who joins us with some thoughts on this issue. Ms. Zampa, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us here on News Desk. Okay, apparently lawyer Maurice Zampa's line just dropped, and okay, I believe we have him now. Counsel, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us here on News Desk.
Sorry, the line.
Mr. Zampa, good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, morning.
Great. Hope all is well.
Yes.
Fantastic. Right. So the first question will be to ask whether or not you've come across this 72-page document the state speaks of.
Come again?
I'm asking whether you've come across this document by the state, the document in which the state is seeking to imprison lawyer, I must say, Alfred Agbeshi Woyome, that businessman.
Yeah. I think that some of us have cited the document, and I don't think that that's the proper way to go. A court of competent jurisdiction have tried, acquitted, and discharged an accused person. If you are not happy with it, what you do is to go appeal. But to file a process for his freedom to curtail, that's not the proper way. I think that the AG should not pull that legal line. Rather, the AG should proceed on and pursue his appeal. Woyome, before his trial, has been granted bail, and if he has been acquitted and discharged, and you are not happy with it, what you do is to appeal against the acquittal and discharge. And I don't see curtailing this fundamental human right is the way going, and I don't see any court of competent jurisdiction granting that application.
So essentially what you're saying is that the state is just on a wild goose chase. Nothing is going to come of this.
Definitely. Because you see, now Woyome is a free person subject to the appeal. So with the appeal, you cannot say that he should be rearrested. This is not a retrial. This is an appeal. So before even he was tried at the court of first instance, he was a free person. He was on bail. So if you are going to appeal, he should be on his former bail, because this is not a matter that you have discharged him and then you are rearranging before a different court. This is a matter that has been disposed of by a court of competent jurisdiction. Therefore, what you need to do is to pursue your appeal, and then if maybe you have any information that is about to leave the jurisdiction, then you can bring that one to the notice of the court that, subject to the appeal, the accused person or the suspect is taking steps to leave the jurisdiction. Then there is a way out where bench warrant or so whatever can be issued for him to show security.
Okay.
But for you to go and then prepare an application for his freedom to be curtailed is not the best.
All right. So, Mr. Zampa, let me ask. For instance, the state makes mention of certain key elements here. One of those elements is the fact that, well, some of their key witnesses were unable to testify during the main trial. Now, they also speak of Justice John Ajit Nassam, whom we've all come to know is part of a few people who were actually fingered in this Anas expose. I mean, if you're raising questions about the judgment of such a judge, is that not enough grounds for us to revisit some of the cases he's looked at, particularly such a controversial case like this one?
I think that it is good in the interest of justice that we reopen this case on appeal. And I think every appeal is a re-hearing. So once you can leave new evidence to show to the court that at the time of the trial, those evidence were not available because you could not get those evidence, the court is prepared to listen to you on appeal. And in appeal, the state can raise every issue, any legal issue, bordering on the integrity and the conduct of the trial judge. And then if you strongly believe that there has been miscarriage of justice or the law was not applied, the whole judgment is against the weight of evidence. These are matters you can articulate. And I think that the AG is doing the right thing by raising those issues. And the court of appeal would definitely determine on those matters.
I see. You see a situation where, like I say, even though Mr. Agbeshi Woyome has been freed, you see a situation where he might have to be convicted for some of these wrongdoings.
Yeah, definitely. You see, a court of first instance acquitted, and the court raised so many issues as to the state not being serious in prosecuting the matters and failing to prove. Now, if the state feels strongly that based on the evidence, the judge's conduct or the judge did not rely on evidence or the state did everything possible that by judgment was not based on the evidence and the law applicable, then the Court of Appeal will determine that matter. So as of now, the Court of Appeal is about to hear the matter. It can be a re-hearing of all the matter before the court. The issues can be re-argued, and then new evidence, if it were not available, tendered. And I think that is an opportunity for the Court of Appeal to do justice in this case once and for all.
Right. Well, Ampa, many thanks for your time here on News Desk this morning. Maurice Ampa, I must say, is a private legal practitioner, and he was sharing some thoughts on the particular issue where the state, well, is seeking to, among other things, imprison Alfred Agbeshi Woyome. I still have with me here in the studio Jahunya, my colleague and producer as well. So, Jahu, just before we went for that particular interview, I was asking of the whereabouts of Justice John Ojet Nassam. Do we, by any chance, know where he is?
Well, we don't know where. We don't know where Justice John Ojet Nassam is at the moment. I'm not sure. I'm sure the intelligence services are pursuing certain leads to try and find where he is. But we should also keep in mind that Woyome, there were two cases involved when it comes to Woyome's. This is actually in relation to the criminal case.
So this is a criminal case. There was a civil case.
There was a civil case. There was a civil case that was that the prosecution did win, as in the state. But with the criminal case, they fell very, very, very far short of the glory, so to put it. And so this is the case in which if he is found guilty of any wrongdoing, then he would face a prison sentence. But let's not forget that he is supposed to pay back that money, because it turns out that judgment debt was awarded wrongly, and there was a payment plan outlined. How far he has gone with that payment plan and how much money he's returned to the state since that ruling, well, I guess it's anyone's guess. But we are doing our checks, and as soon as we get that update, we'll definitely let you know.
Right, Joe, many thanks for your time on News Desk, and that was Jahunyan bringing us a lot more on that particular issue in relation to businessman Alfred Agbeshi Woyome and that judgment that, well, still watching News Desk here on Joy News Multi TV. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll bring you a lot more stories. Don't go away.